It started as a completely ordinary day, until I looked across a crowded sidewalk and saw a pitch-black creature crouched on top of a man's back, clinging there, face pressed close, while the man walked along completely unaware. And then the creature looked up. It looked directly at me and smiled. That was the moment everything changed, because when I blinked and looked around at the crowd, they weren't people anymore. Everywhere I looked, something was wrong with the people around me. A man with the head of a dog, a woman whose legs tapered into a snake's tail, a figure with no face at all, just a smooth, blank oval where a face should have been. I woke up in a police station. A detective sat across from me, studying me with the particular coldness that law enforcement reserves for people they've already decided are guilty. Name: Jason Sharp. I'm nobody, a low-level office worker, the kind of person who instinctively cooperates with authority figures even when he has no idea what's happening. Age: 30. What was your relationship with the victim? Victim. I stared at him. That word didn't belong in my life. What was your motive? I had no answer, because I had no memory. Victim, motive, handgun. These were words from true crime shows, not from my actual existence. The detective slid a photo across the table. Your fingerprints are on the weapon, and there are witnesses. I asked to see one. They brought a witness in. He gave his account, calmly, clearly, said he'd watched me pull a gun from my pocket and fire it at a stranger on the street. Something about him made me uneasy in a way I couldn't name. Then he smiled at me. That same self-satisfied, knowing smile. The detective noticed where I was looking and dismissed the witness. As the man turned to leave, I saw it. A thick, pale tail, like an oversized worm, dragging behind him along the floor, writhing as he walked. At the door, he glanced back and gave me a look full of open malice. I stood up and pointed. Did you see that? Did you see what's behind him? The detective told me to sit down immediately. I sat, and I made a decision. I did it. I want to be locked up, please. The detective leaned back. You just said you didn't know the victim. You said you didn't have a gun. I'm changing my statement, lock me up. I couldn't explain what I'd seen, the tail, the creatures, the crowd full of things wearing human shapes. If I described any of it, there was only one possible outcome, which was exactly what I needed. I was remanded to Trinity Psychiatric Hospital for evaluation. And here is the thing that surprised me most. Every single doctor and nurse inside the facility looked completely, undeniably normal. No tails, no wrong faces, no creatures, just people. I followed every rule, took every pill on schedule, kept quiet, kept to myself. As far as institutions go, it wasn't bad. The hospital had a yard with a well-maintained lawn. I learned quickly that the lawn was the domain of one particular patient, a former university professor. Before his diagnosis, he had been widely admired. Now, stripped of everything that had once defined him, he had chosen a single remaining purpose: tending the grass. He moved across it every day with careful precision. The staff let him. It wasn't cruelty. It was the one thing that still made sense to him. In the middle of that lawn, most days, there was a girl. She believed she was a flower. If no one came to bring her inside, she would simply lie in the grass indefinitely. The only thing that made her shift position was when the professor approached with his shears, at which point she would move slightly, the way a plant bends away from something sharp. I could see the flower bud on top of her head, pale green, tightly closed, real as far as I could tell. The first time I noticed it, I nearly fell off my bench. After a while, I got used to it. I'd sit with her sometimes and ask questions. What color are you? What weather do you like? She said she was green. I looked at the bud. She was right. One afternoon during lunch, a doctor came in with a young man and introduced him as a new nurse named Luke. But that evening, Luke moved into the empty patient room next to mine. Nurses don't live in patient wards. So either he wasn't a nurse, or something about his situation was more complicated than the introduction had suggested. I filed that away and said nothing. The next morning, the aggressive patient down the hall, the one who never came out, was heard yelling through his door, "Get away from me! Stay back!" Hours later, he appeared in the corridor for the first time I'd ever seen. He looked like a man in his 80s, white hair, deep wrinkles, skin like old paper. But at breakfast, his parents arrived to visit, and they couldn't have been older than mid-40s. Whatever he had, he'd aged decades beyond his years. I was still thinking about that when I noticed the floor. Black insects, small ones, moving in a perfectly straight line across the dining room floor. Organized, purposeful, like a column of soldiers marching towards something specific. I watched them pass my feet. Then I brought my shoe down. I kept stamping, flattening the ones at the front, but the ones behind just kept moving forward, routing around the casualties, reforming the line. I was so focused that I didn't notice everyone had stopped eating. When I looked up, every patient and staff member in the room was watching me. Their expressions said the same thing without words, that they were looking at someone who had lost his grip on reality, except for the aggressive patient down the hall who had somehow ended up at a corner table. He was staring at me too, but differently, not with pity or unease, with gratitude, like a man who'd been drowning and had just spotted someone swimming toward him. I lowered my foot, and the thought hit me clean and cold all at once. The creatures on the street, the flower bud on the girl's head, the worm tail dragging behind the witness. These were all things no one else could see.